Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the It's Just Dinner podcast, where we're changing the dating culture one episode at a time.
Yes, we are.
We try to, every episode, we try to change
I noticed
it
that you say that on every episode.
I do. And you probably recognize that voice as my co-host, Bob Walls.
I'm glad to be here, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be changing the dating culture.
Do you feel like we are?
I think we are.
Are we accomplishing anything?
Oh, we have.
I think so,
We've
too.
completely changed the dating culture in the last episode. I think was the one that did it.
And but it's funny, though. I have people tell me all the time that they've tried this whole thing, this cisgender thing, and they're actually having success from it.
And it's interesting because these are just basic principles of relationship development that everyone should explore, and so that's what we talk about in this podcast, is how you can improve your ability to connect with other people by going out to dinner with them. There you go. And that's why we call this Just Dinner. I think it's an excellent name for the podcast. Somebody wanted to change it to Sophie's Choice or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what is going on here today.
Well, sitting over there on our board again is Sophia.
Yes.
Or Sophie.
We're good to be back.
Sophie or
we're
whatever.
trying to figure out. And then, guess what? Guess who we invited back again?
Who's that?
We invited Macey.
Yes, Macey.
Hi.
I knew she was here. Macey, welcome. Now, is it Macey? Is it short for something?
No, it's just Macey.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you back. The two young women here have a connection with our guest today. And
imagine that.
I'll explain that here in just a little bit.
Okay, you're going to introduce the guest first, and then you're going to talk about...
I am. Okay. We have a guest, and our guest is going to talk about a movie that he put together about dating.
About dating.
Yeah. And this is Enoch Palmer. Enoch was one of my students, so welcome.
Right. Enoch, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here in the big studio.
Hey, I'll have you know at first, Enoch is short for something.
Is it?
Yeah.
Enoch?
Enochius the Great the Third.
Oh.
So if you prefer that, feel free.
Enochius the Great. We'll just stick with Enoch.
All right, fine.
We're having trouble with names here today.
Yeah, we
some
are.
reason
Well,
on this
welcome.
podcast.
I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
And so you were in his class, and so now you're a filmmaker?
Yeah, so I was in his class for one semester, and that was about all I could take. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I know that
enough's enough.
It's because your jaw was so tired from laughing at all his jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
He is hilarious.
Exactly.
He's the Steve Martin of teaching.
Yeah.
I tell everyone.
Literally, yeah. Loads jokes, everything.
It was great.
It's hilarious.
So Enoch made a video, and he put together a bunch of interviews and a bunch of examples, and he talked to a lot of people, including the host of the It's Just Dinner podcast, about dating, about the problems with dating, about maybe some solutions with dating. And in addition to that, he did a little experiment with Sophia and Macey.
Oh,
and
so
then we're going to have them.
Where we have the connection part.
That's the connection. So we're going to have them talk a little bit about the experience they went through.
Okay, well, you're going to set this up. Are you going to explain?
I'm going to ask the man right here.
Okay.
So where did this idea come from? You decided to talk about dating, and you specifically here at BYU. And so where did the idea come from?
Well, so first of all, I've been doing video work for like a long time, and I was actually out doing summer sales, and I was just hating it. And so something I would think about while I was avoiding knocking doors was just the idea of like making a series of videos for BYU about like BYU topics. And so this video was actually kind of the first test, you could say. It was like a proof of concept with it. And so I started like writing up scripts for different ideas. I talked to a whole bunch of professors, whole bunch of therapists here at BYU, because I needed to make sure it was something that would actually like help people. If you remember, I came in, I talked to you about it. And then afterwards I surveyed a bunch of students about it, and then it seemed like dating was the first big one people wanted covered. So.
Okay.
And that your research that you got back from students was that dating was a topic that they wanted more information about.
Well, it was more of, that was one I was thinking about doing already, and so I created a little survey about dating. And honestly, it's the same questions that I asked everybody in the video.
All right.
And I went around the library while everybody was studying, had them take it.
Right.
And one thing I made sure to do, which this honestly shocked me, is I tried to get like a big group of people. And I mostly tried to target people who, in my eyes, I felt like they would be fine dating. Like, it wasn't like the lonely, sad kid trying to get his finals done in the corner.
Well, that's one of the guys that needs it, though.
It was like the people who, because I was going to ask them about their experience dating at BYU, and I wanted to know if it was just me or not.
Right.
And I asked people who were like, surrounded by friends and were like laughing, stuff like that. And I figured that it would be like, oh, it's great, it's great, it's great. And then I got all of it back, and it was terrible.
Not great.
Honestly floored me. Like, I was shocked at how bad it. All the responses were along the lines of like, I hate it. It sucks. Everyone of the opposite sex sucks. Like, everything sucked till I met my spouse. Like, it was not good.
And that's interesting because that's the same thing that we've found and I found too, is whenever I talk to somebody, I get that feedback when I talk about, because one of the reasons is because it's kind of a bait and switch, because they think when they come to BYU that dating is going to be spectacular. Because you would think you've got 50, 60,000 people your age group
between two universities,
that people would just be dating all the time. And when I talk to people, they say, "Oh, it's terrible, it's awful, nobody dates," and that was the reason that one of the main reasons we started this podcast, because of that dysfunctional nature. So it's interesting that his data, his research, it proved out the same thing that we always see.
So then you did the survey, and you gathered up information that was quite surprising or shocking to you. And then what? Then what did you decide to do?
Well, basically, I wrote up a script, tested it with a few different people, see what they thought about it, and then just came the crazy amount of like scheduling, calling people, trying to get this whole thing to work out. And
you scheduling people, you going doing interviews with people?
Yeah, so I kind of broke into 3 parts. The first part was, first there's like a little intro, right? But the first part was just talking to the students about it. So tried to get 50 people because it was like the middle of midterms. It was really bad planning on my part. We managed to interview 25 people about dating.
That's a good number.
Yeah, it was really good. And then after that, the second part was interviewing you. That was just dinner.
That was experts, talking to the experts, talking to really smart, good-looking people.
That's the part that was just, it was just the most intelligent thing that he did.
Well, that's probably the riveting part that people can't stop watching. Yeah. They'll say, what was all this stuff at the beginning? But wow, when I got to that second part, then I couldn't stop watching.
Yeah, nothing like hearing Tom's voice over and over. Whoever edits this podcast, I feel so bad for. So, I'm just kidding. And then, so it's kind of like showing the problem. It's just dinner as a way to fix the problem, because I had taken a class, I had heard the whole spiel. And then the last part was just a fun.
Whoa.
A fun way to put it to the test.
Did you hear what he's called me? The spiel.
No, he didn't call you the spiel.
He said my spiel was the spiel.
He said he heard the spiel.
Well, you are the
spieler in this diagram sentence, correct?
Okay. Oh, everybody that listens to the podcast knows what the spiel is.
You're the spieler.
Okay.
The spiel is the topic.
Hey, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good.
I did mean to. So.
And then, the last part, like I said, was just kind of a fun way to do a proof of concept that was just kind of go big or go home, which was the $20 versus $1,000 date.
Oh, and we're going to hear
about
the
$20 date versus the $1,000 date.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where
we're going to talk about that here in just a minute.
Our 2 associates come in on this.
So you recruited a bunch of young adults to come in, and you talked to them about dating. And so you interviewed each one, you filmed them. Now, Bob, what I will tell you is that one of the very first things that Enoch did when he would bring these people in is he had cups set up on this table, and he handed you a ping pong ball, and he asked you to drop the ping pong ball in one of these cups as to where you felt like dating at BYU was. One was like it's the worst thing absolutely in the world, right. And the 10th thing was the most glorious, wonderful thing that could possibly be. Right. And so each person that he interviewed had to drop it into the cup.
Right. Yeah.
Is that right? And then do you remember what the average number turned out to be of all the ones that dropped?
The average was about 3 to 5 between them. Once in a while there was like a 7, but most of them
3 to 5. So what that tells us, Bob, is that from the 25 people that he interviewed, most people were below half on how they felt like the dating culture.
Their satisfaction with the dating culture at BYU.
Yeah, which granted, the scale I gave them was like a massive scale, if you remember.
Right.
One was, it was terrible. You'd rather eat a Tide Pod. You just hate everything about it. Keeps you awake at night. And then 10 was, it's so good that you would get divorced after getting married just to re-go through it. Wow. So it was kind of a big scale. So I think that kind of fudge the
So you
numbers
didn't get a
little
lot
bit,
of
but
ones or tens.
No.
Yeah, that's probably best.
Yeah, but still, it being in the 3 to 5 range.
3 to 5,
is
and that's
low.
what we would predict.
Right.
That, you know, if
You
it
want to
wasn't
guess
for that, we
where
wouldn't be doing this.
he asked me to do it. You want to guess where I put the ball?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead. See how well
I think
you do.
you put it on number 5.
What do you ladies think?
I was going to say 4.
4?
Well, I saw it, so.
Oh.
So what's your guess?
Yeah, give us a guess.
I actually am trying to remember. Was it 3 or 4?
It was a 3. I put it at a 3.
Yes, 3. That was my guess.
And that's as an expert, I put it as a 3.
Oh. As an expert at dating coach, not
Yeah.
as an expert at dating here at BYU.
Correct.
So you're looking
Correct.
at this from a different side.
Right. This is where I thought dating was.
Right.
Based on his scale.
And based on your previous research.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, that would make sense. And so your average was 3 to 5.
Yeah, it was 3 to 5, and a lot of people. It was interesting because I kind of started off asking them like, why that rating. Most of them ended up talking about the pressure with dating, and then I was asking them why is there pressure. So everyone said they felt the pressure, but then when I would ask them where it came from, no one could really give a great response.
Oh, interesting.
There were some good ones here and there, but most of it was like, I don't know, friends, the church. Like it was kind of all over the place with that.
So they never really. They knew that there was pressure in dating, but they never had identified where that pressure was coming from.
Yeah. Like I said, a few people had really great answers, but for the most part, people never really thought about it.
I think it's a built-in pressure because you've been thinking of it your whole life, and either as a female, who am I going to marry, and as a male, I have the responsibility that's there. I'm going to have, and so.
But we have heard
pressuresome.
from how many people have we heard from though that say that they go on a date, they come home, and the roommates are already on top of them about, oh, you're going to marry him. This is going to be your future husband.
Well, that's pressure.
And then
Does
you
that
have,
happen to you?
Then you have your bishop coming in with the same kind of stuff that's talking about it. So I think there's pressure from all kinds of different directions.
That's probably true.
I think that probably when people call home, one of the first questions their parent asks them is, who are you dating? How many dates are you going on? And wondering, when's the big day going to happen? And so I think
the parents are worried because they got to pay for the wedding reception.
That's
so
true.
they're,
I think it's a fun topic too for at least like girls to talk about because it's like, oh, like you're dating, that's so fun, and it's like something that people want to hear about because it is like exciting to hear. And so when they ask questions like that, like relatives or friends, it's not really out of pressure, but it can be viewed that way, which I can like, okay, yeah, that makes sense why we maybe feel pressure that way.
So the girls get together and they talk about weddings. The boys get together and they talk about World of Warcraft.
That's one of the main problems. So, well, what did the guys say? I mean, you talked to many different guys. Mm-hmm. What was their kind of reason, or why did they feel pressure?
Yeah, well, so everyone, honestly, guys and girls both said the same thing, and it was just from family, the church. Some people brought up missions and kind of the expectation of like that's the next thing, But honestly, I think one of the biggest insights I got from this, and I'm gonna go deep here for a second, is that two of the greatest human fears is number one, that we're not enough for those we want to be enough for. And the reason that one's important is because if we feel like we're not enough for someone, then it roots out a deeper fear, which is if we're not enough, then we'll never be loved.
Oh, yeah. How many times have we heard that from our guest about how when you go on dates or when you're dating that you should be working on yourself and that you should become more confident with yourself and understand who you are. And once you do that, it takes a lot of the pressure off dating because you are confident in the person that you are.
But I think what you say by going deeper here, you're identifying some of the hierarchy of needs that human beings have. And so if you're not able to have those in your life, you perceive yourself as going to not have a happy life. If you don't connect with people and you don't have love with people, and being alone is a fear.
And that's one of the reasons
have.
why you need to work on yourself.
Right.
And,
but I think what it rises up, and I think maybe that's why you say this, because there's a fear that's associated with that people have to overcome.
Well, and I think also there's just, I think one of the reasons people can't identify where the pressure is coming from is it's not just like one thing. And one thing, I thought about while interviewing all these people and talking about it for so long was just, outside of the church, in the world in general, marriage is not a big of a thing anymore. And so not just the idea of being enough for someone, but let alone someone to marry. forever, that's a pretty big deal.
It is.
Like just that expectation of, it's kind of your
one of the things that Bob and I have found over the last couple of years of doing this is that you would be surprised that dating is a huge problem everywhere, and the problems with getting married, everybody's thinking about it. And we had one guy on the show that said it's a problem all over the world. So I think it's more pervasive than what we even think that it is.
Well, then it kind of comes to the idea of like you get home from a mission or you start attending BYU and you want to be enough for somebody, right? Because everyone wants to get married. And then, at least everyone I've talked to. And then you see maybe your buddy get married or something like that. And then you're like, well, he found his person. And then, I don't know, those thoughts start coming in like, why haven't I found mine yet? Am I enough for somebody? And, and I think those fears, along with like, kind of like what you guys were saying, your family calling you, asking you about it, your bishop asking you about it, it just kind of drives that a little deeper than it needs to go.
I have to say, when I was watching, the number of people that said the exact same thing over and over and over again, even having done this for a long time and talking about dating, and I just was really surprised at what everyone had to say. Was it surprising to you to hear the same thing over and over and over again?
Yeah, to a large extent, yeah. I thought especially it would be different between girls and boys, but not really.
Because they're watching your video and they go, pressure, 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 commitment, commitment, commitment. And the way you edited it was really great, because it just showed that there's this huge misconception or this huge problem that we have with dating.
Yeah, I have to say your video was very well edited. I sent it to my family. Like, oh guys, I'm on this. You should totally watch this. And they watched all 30 minutes of it after church one day.
So,
and they were
it wasn't just you that
I wasn't just no, they watched the whole thing. And they were like, wow, that was really good, and it was totally high quality. And I was like, I know. So
you've been doing videos for a long time.
Yeah, that's great.
It's definitely a lot more than I was ready for, though.
All right, so
how long it would take.
So you interviewed all these people.
First, what about the part with Tom? Did they like that part too? Did they mention?
They did mention Tom. They're like, who's the professor?
Who is that?
What a handsome guy.
Who is that? A handsome devil
said,
there.
Can I get his number?
Yeah, we'd like to talk to that guy. So, well, tell him, have a full schedule, as you know. But
he's a busy man.
Yeah. So you interviewed all these people, and then at some point you had this idea of, hey, what if I fixed 2 couples up and I sent them on a date? So tell us about that part.
Yeah, so that was there from the beginning. That was the idea that would be the shareable aspect of the video. So if listening to students complain wasn't enough, listening to you expose all the secrets wasn't enough, this would be the thing that would help people share it.
All right.
And so, we took 2 blind dates, and we had one go on an It's Just Dinner date and another go on a $1,000 date.
A $1,000 date. Okay, who would not love that?
You would think.
Oh, you can ask her what she thought about it.
So we actually in this room have one of the people who went on the extravagant $1,000 date.
Yeah, which first of all,
wow, this is amazing
feedback. Let me tell you, from the guy's perspective, what a pain to set up.
Really?
So many phone calls.
For you.
So many,
you're the one that set it up.
So as a guy, guys, if you think
you mean to find a place where you could spend $1,000 was hard to find?
No, just getting
getting all the people lined up. Yeah.
Well, and also the sponsor paid for it. I didn't pay for it, and so that was a pain as well trying to figure out. But so we got 2 blind dates set up. Tom was gracious enough to help me find people for it. And then
they're both looking at me like, your mom and dad didn't know that part, did they?
That you set us up?
Yeah.
I don't know if I told them.
Yeah.
I think I did. I don't remember.
Did you at least give them a higher grade or something?
Well, they were.
I think I was out of the class after that point.
So, all right.
It wasn't a great.
So we have them sitting here, and Macey went on the It's Just Dinner, and so they spent how much on the date?
I think it was around $25, $30.
Okay.
It was $32.
Yeah.
And then Sophia, you went on the $1,000 date. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so Sophia, you got to put the microphone over there closer to you because we're gonna grill you on.
Sorry, here I am. I did. I went.
Okay, so let's have them tell us about their experience, and then you jump in and ask some questions as well. Now, you did ask them questions at the end of this, so everybody that goes and watches this video, you'll see they've got put on a lie detector at the end to see if they were lying about this date.
Really? So the people who went on the date, you hooked them up to a lie detector
Yeah.
to see, wow, this is extensive,
Okay.
isn't it?
All right, so let's start with the $20, $35 date. So he set you up, and then what happened? Just give us a real quick version of this.
So me and Benson drove to, well, we met up, and then the little filming, and then we drove to Pho, which I'd never had before.
What's it
really
called?
Good. Pho, Pho, Pho. It's
Okay.
an Asian dish. Never had it. We went and we just had dinner. We talked. It was honestly a cool experience because Benson like knew all about it, and he was like telling me about it, and I was like, I don't know how to use this. Like, how do I do this? And he was like teaching me, and then we were just talking about life, and I'd never met him before, so got the basics. Then we talked about vacation things and who we were.
So a
And
nice
then-
conversation.
Yeah, it was a good conversation. Benson's super cool, and then we went home.
So that was it.
That was it.
it.
It was just dinner.
Which
Okay.
There was not a second date that came out
There
of this.
actually was not a second date, but me and Benson are totally friends now, and we
Right.
see each other around all the time. We say hi to each other. It's great.
Now that's what this is all about.
It is.
If there's no connection,
The
we
worst
wanna make
thing that can
friends.
happen is that you enjoy some good food and you meet someone and you make a friend.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
on top of that, 1 hour. It was
1 hour.
1
Yeah,
hour.
1 hour. It was
1
an
hour
hour.
time.
That's
I mean,
that's-
besides
So
all
did
the
you
beginning
notice in the first 26 minutes, was there any spark that occurred? Apparently no. So the second 25 minutes, you were just treading water
biding
to
your
get
time,
out of there.
Biding your time.
No, it was good. I was enjoying my food.
Oh, good.
Got my Diet Coke.
All right, so
Well.
let's hear about the next one.
But you would consider this a successful date.
Yeah, totally.
So it's successful. It's just dinner.
Yeah.
All right, Sophia. Now listen to this experience. All right, so tell us about you. So you met up. So you and on the video you'll see all four of you were standing there together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then they went on their dinner, and then you. What happened to you? You got picked up in the morning, right?
It was like dark 30.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to tell the story because you're the one that had to like wake up the earliest. But yeah, so I got my hair and makeup done.
As part of the date.
Yes.
So that you arranged to have her go to a place to have her hair and makeup done prior to the date.
Yeah, up in Salt Lake. Yeah.
So this was in the morning of the date.
Mm-hmm.
You went to a
So I hadn't
salon.
met him. I had gone. I just went to Salt Lake first thing in the morning to get
Wow.
my hair and makeup done.
Wow.
Which, yeah, was a first for me. So that there's a lot of firsts
Uh-huh.
on this first
Now,
date.
by the way, just so you know that Sophia's ideal dinner is a clean Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. That's highbrow for
we
her.
definitely. We
That's
did
where
not do that.
that's where she feels the most comfortable.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you got your hair and makeup done, and then what?
Yeah, and then I came home and changed into like a dress, and then we met up to go to start the date, and then we drove. Well, and then a different car came, and they'd rented a Tesla. I don't know if you want to tell the details of all of this. I feel like you're like in pain me skipping over all of these like painstaking details that you probably took, but it was also a little while ago. So I'm like, so we got in the Tesla and then we drove to the Hale Theater. Is that the name? Yeah, the Hale Theater.
The one in Draper?
The really nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one in
I don't know
Sandy.
your name.
Sandy, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm like, I don't know where it was. I
Wow.
was like a little
And you saw a
distracted.
play.
Yes, and we saw a play, and then we
What was the play?
drove to
You don't remember?
see how they run.
See how they? I tried to get Titanic.
Oh, that would be
Tried
romantic.
really hard.
Right.
Didn't work out.
See how they run. Well, that's
It was
fine.
still good. It was
That's
a
a
good
fun.
play.
I mean, if you have not been there, they're not a sponsor of ours. But if they
The
wanted
Hale
to
Center.
sponsor us and give us money, that we would take it.
We would send more people.
We
to
would
the
send
Hale
more
Center.
people to the Health Center because
And
it
that
is
was second,
spectacular.
yeah.
I mean, it really is.
It
The
is.
floor drops way down, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
an experience, isn't it?
It was great. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. And then we went up to Park City and just had like a really nice dinner.
Fancy dinner.
Yeah.
Lots. I remember you saying lots
do
of
you-
different things to
Yeah,
try.
there
and
was lots
name of
of
the
food.
restaurant. Some details here. What was? Do you remember?
Ooh, I don't know what the name.
No worries. So it's called Main Street Pizza and Noodle.
Uh huh. Yeah. No,
Yes.
where
And
it
we
is.
had the sponsor gave us $350 to spend.
Mhm. That's a lot
So
there.
we ordered everything.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
everything.
Everything. And me and the date go up to order it, like Josh, the one she went with.
Yeah.
And we're just like talking to the guy, and we're like, this. And he's like looking, and he looks at the table, he's like, just for people? And I was like, yeah.
We're really hungry, you know.
We literally ran out of space on the table for the food, so they had to bring out like pizza trays so that we could like stack the food.
Wow.
And
Macey's looking like, what?
No,
that's crazy.
Like until this point, they told me that Josh was paying for everything, and so I thought that Josh just had decided to like buy the entire menu of this bar.
Wow.
And I was like,
I'm not that hungry.
If I could interject real quick, that was something we didn't highlight in the video, is neither of them knew that it was sponsored for it. So she thought that her date was paying for it.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't just like a yippee, this is some busin's money. She thought it was him. And we like...
And did you know that your date was not paying the $30?
I actually did, so then I ordered Diet Coke. I was like, so are you paying? And he was like, no, they're paying. I was like, all right, I'll take a Diet Coke.
Dang it, Ben.
So you're telling me if he was paying that you would not have ordered her a soft drink?
I would have had water.
No, that's a good date right there.
All right, Sophia, so you ordered everything on the menu. Was the food good?
well, I didn't. I did not.
Okay, now let's back up on this. So he did not give you a choice of what you wanted to order?
Oh, he did. No. I just got like a side dish or something, because like I don't like ordering a lot of, like, we're all in college, right? Mm-hmm. So like if a guy, in my opinion, if a guy takes you to dinner, then you should like not totally wreck his bank account because like he's nice enough.
But wait, you're assuming he's already sent you to a salon to have your hair and makeup done. He's rented a Tesla. He's taken you to a play.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, yeah, I just feel bad. I don't know. I just don't.
That's so then all of a sudden all this food starts showing up at your table.
But see, that shows a real kindness on her part, that even after all this, she's still concerned about that she doesn't want him to spend too much. Now, do you want him to not spend the money because you're worried? Now, be honest here with me. Are you didn't want him to spend the money because you're worried about his budget, or are you worried that he was trying to buy your affection?
Ooh, that's a great question. Both. Because it's super awkward when you feel like... I've definitely been in both situations. For him, I think it was both. And it was also kind of a weird situation in general, because like usually I feel like when you spend that much money on somebody, it's not a first date. Right.
Well, it's almost, we talk about love bombing is, one of the things that narcissists do, where they try to shower you with gifts as an attempt to control.
Or just insecure people. Like I've just noticed that like some guys that they tend to be less confident in their personality or like what they have, like how interesting they are, tend to like give you things, and not necessarily because they're narcissistic, maybe, but like in my experience, usually it's because like they feel like they're not enough fun just to be with, that I wouldn't want to hang out with them, which is so sad because, and it's been kind of a turn off a lot actually. Like there's been a lot of instances where guys will like get me things or like do things, and I'm like, well, if I didn't want to hang out with you, then I wouldn't have.
So that was a little bit of a red flag for you that came up, that you thought, why is this guy spending so much money on me?
Yeah, it was kind of weird, and I just felt like, oh, geez. Like,
well, see, it's good to identify this, because later on, this is going to come in. When we come to the conclusion of this
And I do want to point out that we've had other guests on the show that have talked about the fact that the girls aren't that committed to you.
Right.
They're not willing to commit to hundreds of dollars
on
a
first date.
They're willing to commit to $30 on a date. That's a very low commitment. So, and they do feel like they're trying to buy their affection. So, all right. So let's.
And then you feel like you owe them something.
Right.
Right. So like if they decide to try to do something later, like you feel bad and you're like, oh, they feel like they deserve this because like they buy you all this stuff, and then you just feel bad, and then it's just awkward.
Right.
If I could say something too, I remember when we had you on and you were talking about your portion, you mentioned how, girls don't want anything more than like $15,
right,
$20. And like, I remember hearing that and being like, yeah, it makes sense in like theory, but like, are you kidding me? Like ordering everything. And then poor Sophie, she's like doing fine the whole trip. Like we're having like hour-long rides in this Tesla because I had to chauffeur them the whole time. And like just talking to this random guy she just met that day, and she was doing so good, especially with all this like uncomfortable money being thrown her direction. And then the amount of food comes, and I felt so bad because that's when I get into testimony about it, because she just like kind of shut down for that hour.
So is this like a scientific experiment that you're using them as guinea pigs?
To an extent, yeah. I mean, we did do a polygraph test. So
did you know that all this food would be overwhelming? Were you aware of the fact that if you just filled the table with all these foods, that it would overwhelm her?
Honestly, I did not. As a dude, I did not think about that. I was super hungry, so I was just excited.
Well, okay. Can I just say that's one of the things is like the Tesla was fun, but it wasn't like super overwhelming because I just thought that he liked cars. I'm like, maybe you like Teslas and maybe you like, because some guys just have like more expensive hobbies. And if you want me to, if you're like showing me what you like and you're going to be into that, then like, that's awesome. Like, I kind of wish he'd been like, oh, I love Teslas. Like, this is what I like about them, whatever. And I would have enjoyed it so much more because like, I'm not a Tesla person. I like trucks. But hey, like, you like Teslas? You want to tell me about it? That's awesome. Like, I would love to get to know you in that way. But like the food, it's not like, oh, I love bar food. Like, let me just share this with you. It was like, here, this is for you, like, boom. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't even eat this. Like, it was just, it was more like, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was
so this was an unintended consequence.
Well, no, I had told him. So I held him back in the car before he went in, and I was like, hey, I want you to ask her what she wants, go through everything, and just say we'll take it all. Because we could pay for it.
Right.
We had to use the gift card.
Right.
So.
All right, so that's, you go to dinner, and then you go back to Provo then, right?
Yeah, so then we went back to Provo and took the polygraph. Well, me and Macey both took it, and our dates took it.
What did we find out from the polygraph?
Do you want to take this one first?
That these two are big liars?
Yeah, I lied about my name and they caught me. I don't know. I think what we learned is that it was just, we both felt more comfortable when it was just a more chill date, when there was less money paid for. There wasn't that pressure of like, oh, we paid this much, so that means that I need to kiss him at the end of the night. Like, okay, no, that's not how this works. It's just like, we're just going to dinner, we're just chatting, and I think we both felt it was just better that way.
Yeah.
And so on the lie detector, did they ask you questions like, did you enjoy this date? And
did you like this guy?
You know, and
they didn't ask that one.
And they did polygraph the guys too. Correct. Okay.
But I mean, what kind of questions, Sophia, did they ask you if you enjoyed this date and you said yes, and then it showed you were lying, or were you truthful on the?
Do you want to tell them? You probably watched it over and over again.
I have, but yeah, you go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, one part that I remember was I think they specifically asked whether or not I enjoyed the length of it, and I can't remember exactly what I said. But I think
you said yes.
Really?
Because I remember talking to you after, and you were like, "It was way too long," and I was like, "You lied."
Because like, I don't know, it's complicated, right? But I think like, yeah, no, I like what for a first time, right? Like with someone you don't know at all. And even if like for some reason that was like the best, like the coolest person I ever met in my life, and we connected on every single level, which is not like we didn't connect at all. Like, he's a really nice guy. Like, it was totally fine. But like it wasn't, I don't think anybody should go on a date that long on a first date, right? It's just dinner. Like there's a reason. And it's because like, even if it goes super well and you like have a lot of fun and you like really connect with this person and you could enjoy 6 hours together, I feel like you should cap it at 1, and then they're going to want to see you again, right? Like, if you give it all of them like in the first 6 hours, and then they're going to be like, well, like, I know that person, like nothing else to ask, then there's no hook, right? So like, worst case scenario, it's an hour and you need to get out of there. That's great. You set it up for an hour, you're free. If you really like them, then they're going to want to hang out with you again. And I feel like that's just like the ideal.
So if we're looking at the reasons why you did not enjoy this date.
I did enjoy the date. It was fun.
What did the lie detector say?
It's too long.
Well, so the questions we asked them, first of all, just a couple questions to like get a reading on the lie detectors, like, what's your name? Do you attend BYU?
Right.
And then we just went on like, does it meet your expectations for a first date? Do you feel like you got to know them? Did you enjoy the length? Did you feel like you could be yourself? Did the amount of money spent make you uncomfortable? Would you want to do a date like this again? So those were kind of the questions that we ended up asking.
Right.
And one thing that's so full disclaimer here that these two already know. Macey's been smiling at me, so I'm gonna say it. So Josh, the guy we had, he's not he had no idea what he was doing with the lie detector.
Oh.
But it was a real polygraph that we were getting data from.
Okay.
But the thing that honestly made me laugh the most was we had them all in a separate room. we'd bring them in one by one, and then once they left, they couldn't go back to the other people. We locked them in another room next door.
That was so sus. I was like, what is going on?
And but what was so funny about it was, even though we had the data from the machine, the looks on everybody's faces, like I'm convinced that's how these things actually work. The amount of like the sweat coming down and the look on their face was like more than enough to tell you whether or not they were lying.
So was it clear that Sophia's pants were on fire during this whole thing? Were you lying a lot, Sophia?
No, I was trying to, because there's no like complete lies. Like, it's not like I hated every second of the date and it was too long. Like, there was a lot of fun things. Like, I loved driving the Tesla, and I loved watching the show, and I loved eating the nice food. But like, it was.
But the length of the date was the problem, and the amount of money spent was the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I said at least one of those things in the interview. It wasn't completely.
So
nah.
Really? God.
I just remember, because her date was 6 hours long, like 6.5 hours long total, which she was a champ throughout.
Yeah. Well, she couldn't leave. I mean, she was trying. She doesn't know how to drive a Tesla.
That sounds like some of our bad date stories where they get stuck in the car for 6 hours.
So it definitely wasn't a black and white, like liked or not. It's like definitely on a spectrum, because we asked her and she was like, yeah, kind of just a half response.
Right. So it wasn't necessarily the person. You weren't rating the person. You were rating the experience.
No, yeah, definitely not the person. We were just talking about like different aspects of the date.
Okay. So when did she find out that her date did not pay for all this?
After everything.
After everything.
After the polygraph or before? After the polygraph.
So did you say, could I go take the polygraph again?
Yeah.
I know.
So did
can we go back to the restaurant now?
Did that change?
I want to eat a lot more.
I would have.
Did that change your opinion of your date to know that he wasn't spending that much of his own money? For one way or the other, did that change your opinion of him?
No, definitely not. Like, I mean, I was just mad that he hadn't just told me that he wasn't spending. I mean,
well, he wasn't allowed to. It wasn't part of the show.
Exactly. So I'm just kidding. I wasn't mad, but yeah, definitely not. It just made me feel better, because it made me like him more, honestly, because I was like, oh, he's not trying to just buy everything and freak me out. And also it made me feel it also, one of the things about people getting so much stuff for you is it makes me feel like they think I'm that kind of girl that I need them to get things for me.
Oh, high maintenance.
Yeah, they and I hate that. That's and some girls are, and that's totally fine. Some girls really like that. Some people like gift giving. I just really am not. And so it's not a bad thing. If some guy that was loved giving gifts went on a date with a girl that loved receiving gifts, then guess what? They're a match. That's awesome. That's good for them. But that's just one of the ways that you know that someone's not a match, is if you don't like gifts and they shove them down your throat, or if you like getting gifts and they just don't ever give them to you.
So Macey, do you feel like you kind of wish you'd went on that really expensive date?
Yeah.
Up until about this moment, I always was no, I'm so glad I didn't go on that date. But looking back, I'm that would be a really cool experience, and I could tell my kids, be guys, that guy went on this date and we spent $1,000. That'd be super.
He bought everything on the menu at the restaurant.
Which again, just shout out to both of these two and their dates. In the video, something looks like it took 30 seconds to 2 minutes. When in reality, just the intro shot with both of them in the parking lot, we were there for an hour, hour and a half. And then their dates, and then that, the day started at 6:30 a.m. and it ended. We finally dropped off the Tesla at 2 a.m. So they were
was probably up for 24 hours.
They were champs through all of it.
Wow. So, Sophia, do you wish now that you had been selected to go on the $30 date, do you think you would have enjoyed that more?
If it was a real date, then yeah. But I mean, it was. But I love, I said, I like doing all of the things, and it's super exciting. But if I had been genuinely trying to find connect with somebody, then yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah. Well, we're not married, so.
Well, but Macey's not married either. But Macey came with us. She got a friend out of this.
So, Enoch, what did you learn from all this? What's the bottom line here?
The bottom line for all of it is, we'll definitely listen to the It's Just Dinner podcast. There's a lot.
Good answer. That's a good answer right there.
That's a great answer.
I think the biggest thing, which this is my little surprise to you, is that when I wrote the script, I remember first we filmed the interviews with everybody.
Right.
And then we filmed the interview with you. We kind of filmed in sequence to an extent, and then all the filler stuff afterwards. And when I met with you, you asked me how I was doing, stuff like that, because it probably been about a year or so.
Right, yeah.
And you asked me if I was dating anyone, and I told you no, I was single.
It's funny how I always ask that.
I know, it's on your mind a lot.
You're like the bishop, putting pressure on people.
Every kid in my class asks that same question. Why does he stay on this topic?
Well, here, it gets crazier. So are you ready?
Yes.
I hope you're ready.
Yes.
When we did the $20 versus $1,000 date, I had a girlfriend who was with me for the entire thing. She helped out. She helped me drive the Tesla, stuff like that, kind of figure out logistics, help me edit. By the time the video was posted, we were engaged.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow. So it's
just a video.
Congratulations. I didn't even, that's great.
Yeah.
So we need to change it. It's not just dinner, it's just a video.
It's just a
video,
movie. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
So if you want to find true love, make a movie with somebody and you'll fall deeply in love.
Yeah. So let me tell you, my perspective, I thought I was learning a lot, but then my perspective throughout this changed dramatically because of that. Yeah.
So what was your advice? What would you tell our listeners right now? Having gone through this whole thing, what's your recommendation to them after learning everything you did with your interviews, with the experiment, with your own personal experiment? What would you tell everyone?
So I think there's 3 things I would say, and it's just 3 pieces of advice that stuck with me. The first one, I had a good friend of mine who goes to Utah State, and he got married about a year ago. And I remember when he got engaged, he called me, and I asked him, dude, was it crazy? Was it this big moment? And he was like, honestly, the weirdest thing about it is that I don't feel weird about it. It's just so naturally the next step.
Right.
And it's kind of like what you were saying in the video, that you don't know how it happens. It just does.
Right.
And I would say that's what happened for me. It was so weird at how not weird it was. I'm still weirded out by how not weird it was.
Yeah.
And so that would be the first thing. And then the other piece of advice, it actually stuck out with me from one of the interviews, it was another friend of mine. He was actually the main videographer through the whole thing. And he had gotten married just a few months previously. And something he told me was it happened at a moment when he was not expecting it, or her. And I think that was another big thing. And that was also what happened to me. So it was at a moment where I kind of put a pause, and I was like, I need to take a break from dating, from dinner, from everything. And then that's pretty much exactly when it happened. And then the last thing I would say is truly, the point of a relationship is to give something. If you go in expecting to get something, then no one's going to want to be with you. We can sense that in other people. So you have to go in expecting to give something. But the only way you can give something is if you have something in the first place.
Right.
And it's like the whole analogy with the airplane oxygen mask, where you can't put one on a kid until you have yours on first. So if you're not already happy with where you're at, if you're not already doing great things, feel like you're fulfilling your life's mission, your purpose, if you don't feel like you're growing and giving, getting in a relationship is not going to solve that. You're trying to fill a hole with somebody else who also has their own needs and problems.
Right.
And so if both of you, in the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, it talks about the best kind of relationship is 2 independent people forming an interdependent relationship. And so if you feel like you don't know how to move forward with dating, just honestly work on yourself. And then once you get to the point that you're completely happy by yourself, probably means you're ready and it's going to happen at any moment. At least that's how it was for me.
Very good.
Good advice.
Wow.
So how do people see this? Macy saw it somewhere and she shared it with her family. So how do the rest of us see it?
Yeah, so it's on YouTube. It's just my name, Enoch Palmer. If you just search that, it's called An Honest Conversation on BYU Dating.
An Honest Conversation on BYU Dating.
Yeah.
Enoch Palmer.
And it's about 30 minutes long. It's way longer than expected, so grab popcorn.
And we have some...
But Macy's family watched the whole thing.
Yeah, they watched the whole thing and loved it, so you're going to love it too.
After church on Sunday. But we have some clips of it up on our Instagram. So
we
you
do.
can go to our Instagram page and you can see some clips, and that'll take you...
That'll take you to the YouTube.
We have a link there to the video.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, very cool. Now, last question before we let you go. What's in the future? What is your plans in terms of making your next video?
So right now, actually working on that. It's a little bit of a process between so this video probably took about 6 months from start to finish,
right.
Very start to finish. So it's definitely a little bit of a process, but right now we're in the process of just script writing, finding more sponsors. So if any of you know anyone who's got a lot of money, let me know.
You can sponsor him and the It's Just Dinner podcast.
Pitching more ideas, scheduling it, and just getting the next one rolling.
And what's the topic?
I'll have to do a lot more. I'm trying to decide still.
Okay.
Well, wow, what a great video. And I hope that everyone listening will go watch the video. It's a lot of fun. It's really insightful. Even me, having been involved with this for so long, I was really educated throughout the whole thing, really entertained. It's really well done. You guys, I would recommend that you go look at it. It's at Enoch Palmer. And so you guys can look that up on YouTube. And it's about 30 minutes long, but it's a lot of fun. So thank you for being here with us.
Yeah.
Is there any other ways that people can reach out to you if they want to?
Come find me. I've already had some people recognize me in public, which I was not expecting.
Okay. Enoch is at the very beginning of the video.
So Macey and Sophia, have you been recognized? Have people saying, "Hey, you're that girl from the video that went on that big expensive date"?
Actually, I have. Yeah, it was actually the best conversation of my entire life.
What? Now what?
I don't know if we have enough time to share it now, but it was the best day ever because I've always wanted to be recognized. Just one moment in my life where someone's like, "Are you Macey Thielen?"
Oh,
and
just
wanting to get a
happened.
picture with me. I'm just once in my life. And he came up to me and he was like, "Are you that girl in that video?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am."
Yes, I am.
That's me. And he got my autograph and my
Wow.
number.
Wow. So
Did he
this
ask
is
you
a huge
out?
success.
He did get my number. He was
That's-
like, "You can sign your name and your number too."
Yay.
Well, that's a
Exciting.
smart man.
Sophia,
right
have you
there.
been recognized yet?
No.
No?
But I also had my hair and makeup done, and I was in a dress. So
You
anyone
can still tell it's you. Come
recognizes
on.
me? Okay. No, I'm never.
So
dressed
everybody
like
out
that,
there, please reach out to Sophia
Yes.
and tell her that
give her
you
some love.
you
Tell her you
recognize her,
recognize. Just
She
when you
has-
see
she
her.
has so many fans anyway that
She
it's
does.
you know.
Well, the entire United
And
States
we
military.
go on a live event and everybody wants to talk to Sophia. So well, Enoch, thank you for being here. Bob, thanks for coming.
My pleasure. What a great show. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
today.
ladies, thank you again. We really appreciate it. Macey, you're a lot of fun. So thanks for coming again and putting up with us.
Always.
So, and listen, you can follow us on Instagram where you'll see a little bit of Enoch as well. And that's at the It's Just Dinner podcast and also on TikTok. And so Sophia's been really active on putting some stuff up, some new things up on TikTok and also on Instagram. You can contact us through email at the It's Just Dinner podcast @gmail.com. And listen, every Friday we put up a new episode. So if you have any ideas or some topics that you'd like us to cover, let us know in the email. And then make sure you listen every Friday. All right. Thanks again, guys, for being here. And all you guys out there, listen, just go have fun out there, would you?